I think these things have something to do with either disembodied Nephilim, which, demons, things like that. Um, but I also think it could be possible of fallen angel entities or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just such a hierarchy in this realm, right?
Yeah. No, yeah, but yeah, I want to. I totally agree with you on that, man. And from I don't want to. Just for lack of having the proper vocabulary, I'll use the word for an infant. When I was in the same position you were in, from an infancy understanding of what you were going on, you simplify things down to the lowest common denominator. It was a demon. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a demon, right? And so, but when you study in it, right over my shoulder over here are I read this book. I read is the 54 apocrypha that were taken out of the Bible, right? And a lot of people, just now are getting really into like the Book of Enoch, right? Which is not a bad thing, but I mean, it's a really good thing because what I think a big mistake. I don't think it was a mistake. I think it was done on purpose, right? When you bring up Jesus to people, they'll eat that their first reactions are usually to roll their eyes, call him your sky daddy. Oh yeah, oh okay, yeah, he can just make things happen out of thin air. I think one of the reasons why the Book of Enoch was taken, I know one of the reasons why the Book of Enoch was taken out. The Catholic Church admits they took it out. They admit they took it out because it gave away too much information. It was too much to explain. But it was also, I think at the time, it was a concerted effort by the enemy to take the supernatural out of God, right? So if they take the supernatural aspect out of God, then they don't believe in supernatural things. So Enoch was not a nobody. He was a direct descendant from Adam. He was Methuselah's father. I mean, he was Noah's great great grandfather, right? So like he was on the earth the same time that these Nephilim were on the earth. And in my episode that I'm dropping tomorrow, there was a congressman from Florida, the 13th district. I think it was Luna. Luna, I can't pronounce her name, man. She's a attractive female, but she's talking to Joe Rogan about the Book of Enoch and about. I don't know if you've seen this episode. I've seen him talk
Yeah.
about it. They don't do anything by design. This year, I was in D.C. I was in the congressional UFO UAP hearing. She was there. I was talking. I met Tim Burch and all these people, and I was talking to him. Something's going on, man. Something's coming back around. Something is doing it. But the conscious effort that, if you read the Book of Enoch, and I don't, it's also, I think it's probably in Genesis. They refer to them as the mighty men, the Nephilim or whatever. And God says there's no place for them. He didn't create them, so they'll never go to heaven. So they'll be trapped here on this realm. But the language that you brought up, right? Has to be some type of connection on that, man, because I refer to it as forms of nonverbal communication only because I don't have the proper dialect to explain what you are. Like you just put a paragraph in my head instantly, but words were barely spoken. And like you said, you were viewing his language as some type of hieroglyphic language. And what I like to do on this show, and you do it on your show as well, is when you go back and you look at in history, right? And they tried to wipe it away, but there were several people. I don't like to use the term dark ages, but like especially in England, that were studying what they would call the angelic language. I think there was a guy that was in one of the Queen's courts over there. I'm drawing a blank for his name, right? But he actually said that this was the language of the angels, which was, and again, if you go down the Sumerian tablets, they'll say that that's what the Sumerian tablets are written at, is in that form of the Anunnaki speak that went on it, right? So that's fascinating. But I'm
Yeah.
like, again, that's
Yeah, I
terrifying.
think it was John Dee and Edward Kelly
There it
were the
is.
ones that, they founded this Enochian language,
Yeah,
right? And it kind of goes all the way back, man. And I don't know if you're familiar with any of the Gary Wayne stuff, but it really goes back into this time where these watchers and these beings were also here, partaking in Earth, like
yeah,
with us, right? And the fact that there's a lot of science behind this stuff. I think that there's, which I don't advocate for the occult, but I think this is what the occult is so fond of, or that they're really trying to, first of all, compartmentalize and hold for themselves, right?
Mhm.
You know, it's a hidden science, if that
Oh,
makes
yeah.
any sense. But I think it definitely that they use that as a connection to communicate with these things, or
Yeah.
to make connections with these things, right? Like we know that, Solomon, right, and his sigils and everything, there's a lot of geometry that goes into a
Mhm.
lot of this. And with the language aspect of it all, the angels have to have a language, right?
Yeah.
Like how else do they communicate, even if it is kind of telepathically, or
Mhm.
just, where they don't have, it's nonverbal, like you said.
Mhm.
It's still something. And who knows, maybe it could be a frequency, right?
Yeah.
But these frequencies are waves, and they, just as they are moving through the air, they can leave an imprint on paper as a language, right? And we see a lot of this ancient Sumerians and the Sanskrit and all the ways that they were writing, and even the Babylonians. It was all kind of geometric shapes, but they
Yeah.
had meaning to it, which is wild, dude. I mean, even when you go back to like Lamech, right? And
Mhm.
I forget the other brother, right? But this is Cain's lineage. It gets into the idea that they were writing these things, this ancient knowledge, on pillars, right, to survive the flood. One to survive by fire, the other one to survive by water,
Right.
right? Um, and on top of that, there was like I think it was like 36,500 books that they were also trying to keep secure in, either in the bottom of the pyramids or wherever, right? Well, what have we seen recently, right? That there's some sort of structures possibly
Yeah.
below the pyramids, that they were trying to keep this knowledge some way secured and safe, because God was coming to,
Yeah.
pour his wrath on the earth with water.
Yeah. And no, that's, I mean, that's again, I mean, that's not even debatable anymore. First of all, like, we know angels have the ability to speak. And also, there's, of course, you read the Bible, there's the angels will come to people in dreams, but, literally Mary Magdalene and, his Jesus' mother went into his tomb, and they spoke to them. Why are you here? He's risen.
Hmm.
Go tell his boys he's up. Right. The same thing when, I think it was when John the Baptist's parents, his Gabriel told him, you doubt me? Well, now you can't speak for, until your son's born. So, they can speak. So they're definitely, you're absolutely right, man. They have to have some type, of their own
Yeah,
dialect.
even when you look at the garden, right? Like
Yeah.
you look at,
Yeah.
Eve was communicating with the serpent, right?
Yeah.
The Nakash, the shining one,
Yeah.
right?
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.